the entire database is like picking a grain of sand from a beach. To really understand which one you're after, we try to basically filter down the amount of emission factors which suits the current need, like whatever you've selected for, every step of the way. We really want to showcase doing an automatic filter on the location and all the obvious things. Now, instead of looking at 1,000 emission factors, you're looking at 100 emission factors, which we know that 99.99% of the time is like true. It's gonna lead you to that right emission factor number quickly.
Yeah. My name is Afonso, the co-founder of NetNada, and I'm here with Bala, one of our engineers. And we are going over our half-month sprint in February 2026. And we're doing these videos to be able to really interact with you, share how we build things and why we build things, and hopefully get some really good questions from you for you to learn more about NetNada, but also the behind the scenes of how we come up with these decisions and how we create what we create. The editing of the emission factors on what Bala is showing you here is within our audit table in our carbon ledger. You can go in and look at all the information that you have available on NetNada in terms of emissions, activity data, what was produced in terms of emissions, emission factors, etc. When it comes to editing, once you've select or bulk select a bunch of them, you can go and edit that emission factor. What we do at that point in time is do a first check on what is the activity unit that you're doing. Is it spend? Is it activity? And we try to already surface which emission factors can match that activity. And then we offer you all the filters that a sustainability professional would use to try to find the best match. So by region, by category, by year. And once you select those, you can also give a reason for change. This is super important for audit trail perspective, where things are not just changing because they're changing with a reason. So once you go and communicate with your team or your auditor, you of course can understand why things were done. Once you apply an emission factor and give a reason, what we'll do is recalculate and do any inflation adjustments, currency conversions, and all of that behind the scenes, and you'll get a new emission factor on your audit table. Super useful for those who are getting granular with their emissions, who want to review what AI has selected for them, or can add their own emission factor later into NetNada.
I think there's a lot of decisions that we have to take when it comes to creating a feature, especially when this feature is technically a product on its own, and we're trying to bring that into our app. My fellow developer Carlos spent most of his time developing this feature, but I remember discussing a lot about the fact that we need to restrict or reduce the amount of ambiguity there is when it comes to picking an emission factor. And picking an emission factor from like the entire database is like picking a grain of sand from a beach. And to really understand which one is like what you're after, we try to basically filter down the amount of emission factors which suits the current need, like whatever you've selected for, every step of the way. So for example, right now we have the filtering options that lets you manually go and decide and filter down all the options. But in the future sprints, you will see that we really want to showcase. So like, for example, looking into what fields you have selected, and looking into the nodes, looking into the addresses, and then like doing an automatic filter on the location and all the obvious things, so that when you then go and look at all the available emission factors, you're already
a step ahead.
A step ahead. And like now, instead of looking at 1,000 emission factors, you're looking at 100 emission factors. And continuously we can add on more filters and do assumptions, which we know that 99.99% of the time is like true. It's gonna lead you to that right emission factor number quickly.
Yeah, perfect. Awesome. Thanks for that. One thing that we worked a lot, which is small but really important in our modeling feature, which is how people can upload calculations that were done offline the platform into NetNada. So they also have the evidence. So they might already have the emissions result and they just want to add it to a system of records, is allowing to attach multiple evidence, right? Because if you go here into the modeling section.
So.
Well, you need to know what the things are in the app. Come on.
Not bad. Yeah.
All right. Once you are in the modeling section, before you had to kind of select which node goes, and then you can add multiple entries. But one tweak that we've done is the source of evidence for multiple nodes or multiple scopes or time periods, they can live in different documents. So now users can do that work straight away. So they select which emissions they want to upload, they've added data, and then they can drop multiple evidence, and that will get spread out to those entries.
That's right.
Which, as you build the audit trail, is super important.
Yeah.
I know that more work was done this time around by Sandsheet on workflow of waste streams, right? Handling waste. Do you want to talk a bit more about the behind the scenes of what happened there and what was the workflow that was tried to improve in this?
That's right.
In this sprint.
So to really summarize the problem that we were facing, the challenge that we were facing was the data that we were getting had a lot of waste streams, and it was really what do you call it? There was like data was separated into so many different categories, and showing that data or storing that data was a really complex task, because all of a sudden you have a pie chart which has 100 different categories, which means there's like no real user value that's being added when you look at it. And I say that because most of the times those categories realistically funnel down into one parent category. And right now, any sort of waste data that's out there on its own, you can't derive that unless you do manual data analytics on that on that piece of data. So we realized that in terms of doing the calculations, in terms of showing what the data is, we need to make those decisions and we need to automate that entire process. So we're not expecting the clients to, again, understand how all this data is coming through. Yeah. You just give it to us, and then we use the smart uploads and we use AI to really understand what the parent canonical relationship between those waste streams are, and then kind of funnel it down, and then use that for calculations and showing the data. So this is the update that we first initially did with the waste, and then it worked so well that we then realized that, hey, this is a problem that is existing in multiple different areas. For example, your commute data or any sort of data that you bring has this general challenge, which is funneling down to the streams that are relevant and showing it the best way possible. So you can see in the future that we will be extending this as well.
And I think also you've also built this workflow which always giving the user a space to review what has been matched. So if you drag and drop 12 months worth of waste data, the fact that you can always go and check what has been selected and edit it through the process.
Audit throughout every step. And we always don't forget to give that manual.
Then we did two other updates. One is in our ever-growing projection and target setting feature, which was a term of visualization. People might have different years, different periods. There was a lot of tweaks to try to build a better story when people were looking at that data. And Kamakshi is leading that work. And in the future, we'll also adding reports straight away out of that. But it's just really important to answer the question, what does it mean, right? Once you have those things.
That's right.
And then finally, which was a really small tweak but important, is we're getting more and more users and our white label clients, our consultancies that are using NetNada to deliver their work. They need to quickly find the users and be able to switch to them and edit their work and see their accounts. We just did some really good tweaks on the back end. So
that's right. So tenant switching and being able to just go on with your work and being able to context switch, which is something that we do often these days. We really wanted to show that within the app as well. So
Awesome. Well, that's the quick update for mid-March. As always, if you have any questions for Bala or the dev team, for myself on how we do what we're doing and how we do it, just let us know, and feel free to email us or message us on social, or just give us a call if you have our number, or just book a call to see the NetNada demo as well. Any last thoughts from you?
Happy to help. Do contact us.